The 2026 FIFA World Cup is the first World Cup in history with human rights criteria formally built into the bidding process. Host cities made specific, documented pledges to FIFA on wages, on trafficking, on discrimination. And on opening day, June 11, 2026, Amnesty International published a single phrase to describe what those pledges had produced: human rights emergency. That is where this tournament begins, not with a controversy, not with a complaint, with a formally documented gap between what was promised and what exists on the ground, issued by one of the world's most recognized human rights organizations on the very day the football started. The pledges were not vague. Atlanta committed to raising hourly worker wages to $17.50 for the duration of the tournament. Dallas committed to active anti-human trafficking measures near venues. Vancouver committed to zero tolerance on all forms of discrimination. These were not suggestions in a brochure. They were documented commitments embedded in the formal bidding process, the process FIFA itself described as the first to incorporate human rights criteria. Amnesty International's assessment on opening day demolished all of it in a single phrase. That gap between what was pledged and what Amnesty found is not a footnote. It is the starting point for understanding what this tournament actually is versus what it was designed to appear to be. While the human rights picture was emerging, the hospitality industry was reaching its own conclusion. A survey by the American Hotel and Lodging Association found that 80% of U.S. host markets are tracking below their initial forecasts, not slightly below to the degree that respondents reached for a specific word: non-event. That word carries weight. Not disappointing, not underwhelming. Non-event meaning the World Cup's presence in these cities is commercially, functionally indistinguishable from a regular summer. Kansas City is tracking demand below a typical June or July with no World Cup at all. Atlanta, which was presented as a stronger market, had its Georgia Hotel and Lodging Association president note that activity was expected to accelerate. Past tense framing applied to a future outcome, 1 week into the tournament. Newsweek's pre-tournament assessment stated directly that supply was outstripping demand, not just for tickets, but across the broader services ecosystem that host cities built their economic projections around. Those projections included a $250 million shortfall across host city budgets, money committed, not recovered. Iran qualified for this World Cup. They beat Mali 4-0 in their final warm-up match. Their players are present. Their federation is present. Their fans are not. Iran's group stage matches against New Zealand, Belgium, and Egypt carry the highest volume of unsold tickets of any team in the tournament. Over 3,000 seats are available for each fixture. The Iranian Football Federation (FFIR) has officially accused organizers of revoking their ticket allocation in the days before the tournament began. FIFA has not formally responded in public. This is not a rumor or a fan complaint. It is an official accusation from a national football federation made on the record with no public answer from the governing body. Iran's fans faced visa denials. Their allocated seats sit empty. The federation has stated their allocation was revoked, and the organization responsible for running this tournament has said nothing. The silence is the story. The ESPN injury tracker heading into this tournament reads like a medical filing system. Spain lost Fermin Lopez to a fractured metatarsal on May 17th. The Netherlands arrived without Matty de Ligt, who underwent back surgery and has not played since November, and without Uran Timber, who sustained a groin injury in the days before the opening ceremony. Brazil's Estevan suffered a hamstring injury in April that was later assessed as significantly worse than initially diagnosed. Rodrigo is out entirely. Neymar entered the tournament with a grade 2 calf strain, facing a narrow window to be available for Brazil's opener against Morocco on June 13th. These are not isolated incidents. 5 pro-European leagues filed a formal complaint to the European Commission arguing that the expanded Club World Cup and the saturated international calendar place player welfare at what they described as systematic risk, with the specific word abusive applied to the scheduling conditions. The organization that ran the Club World Cup, the tournament widely identified as a primary source of player exhaustion and physical breakdown heading into this summer, is the same organization now asking those players to compete in 39 degrees C heat across 26 scheduled matches at this World Cup. These aren't just injury updates. They're evidence of a structural failure that FIFA designed, implemented, and profited from. Previous World Cups attracted concentrated criticism. 2018 Russia raised governance and geopolitical concerns. 2022 Qatar raised sustained and serious human rights concerns. Both were controversial. Both were also, in terms of the type of problem, relatively concentrated. 2026 is different. The problems span every category of sports event management simultaneously. On the legal side, Attorney General subpoenas have been issued. On the commercial side, the non-event descriptor from the hotel industry. On the physical side, heat risk formally affecting 26 matches. On the labor side, a worker authorization vote at SoFi Stadium. On the medical side, the injury crisis driven by calendar overload. On the diplomatic side, a referee denied entry at the border. On the human rights side, Amnesty International's emergency assessment on opening day. On the access side, fans from 4 qualified nations effectively locked out. On the financial side, a $250 million host city shortfall. None of these problems are static. The Iran accusation emerged on opening day. The injury updates continued through the final days before matches. The hotel industry descriptor non-event was produced in real time, not in retrospect. The Council on Foreign Relations Human Rights Analysis appeared alongside the opening ceremony. These are not legacy criticisms being recycled. They are active, growing, and multiplying. Mexico faces South Africa in the opening match at Azteca, a stadium that hosted World Cup finals in 1970 and 1986 with 83,000 people in attendance. The opening ceremony featured Shakira. The official match ball, the Triona, is the first rechargeable match ball in World Cup history. Lionel Messi is playing at 38 in what is his final World Cup. Kylian Mbappé enters the tournament 1 goal away from the all-time France scoring record. Lamine Yamal at 18 is carrying the weight of Spain's expectations. The football will be extraordinary. That is not a prediction, it is a reasonable projection based on the quality of players present. And when the football becomes extraordinary, the conversation will shift. Spectacular matches do that, they always do. But shift and resolve are two different things. The Attorney General investigation does not pause when Argentina score. The heat risk does not stop being a heat risk when Brazil attack on the counter. The Iran ticket question, an official accusation from a national federation with no public answer from FIFA, does not disappear when New Zealand take the field. What this tournament will answer between now and the final on July 19th is whether the conversion from controversy to celebration is something that was genuinely earned, or something that was merely postponed by the weight of the football itself. Whether that conversion is earned or merely postponed is the question this tournament will answer by July 19th. The tournament is underway, the pledges were made. The assessment on opening day was human rights emergency. The hotel industry called it a non-event. A national federation accused organizers of revoking ticket allocations and received no public answer. Players are injured from a calendar the governing body designed. Legal subpoenas are active. 26 matches carry documented heat risk. 4 nations fans could not get in and the ball is rechargeable. That is the 2026 FIFA World Cup as it stands on the day the football started.